Welcome to Pilot Mind Flow. PMF will make you feel less overwhelmed, less anxious, more fluent, calm, happier, and safer. Base leg may seem straightforward, but it deserves your full attention, as this is where a few mistakes have led to fatal accidents. You're on base leg getting ready to land, and you're low and slow. So one of the most important things you need to keep an eye on is your airspeed. Don't get too slow. Get used to looking at your airspeed every few seconds. If you master speed control, you'll be safer, and as an added bonus, your landings will improve. Altitude. This is a great time to tweak your power and trim in preparation for a stable approach. By now, you're close enough to the runway that you should be able to notice if you're too high or too low. We often add more flaps while on base, so if applicable, add flaps to your mind flow. Before you start your turn to final, look for aircraft on final. They may not have a radio. The pilot could have forgotten to announce, or maybe on the wrong frequency. Something else to consider before starting your turn is the winds. Hopefully by now you know whether you have a headwind or a tailwind, which you can use to start your turn earlier or later than normal. The last and one of the most important things to do on base is your turn to final. You have your winds in mind to determine when you'll start your turn. Definitely try to avoid turning too late with a tailwind, as overshooting might cause you to want to steepen the bank to line up with the runway. Being mindful of your speed and bank angle while staying coordinated to avoid skidding is critical. If you're not familiar with turn to final stalls, I highly recommend learning about why skidding during this turn can be fatal. If you overshoot final a little bit, as long as your airspeed is on target and you bank less than 30 degrees with proper rudder control to stay coordinated, you should be okay for a nice and stable approach, and you can always make the decision to go around later. Let's build your PMF. You're essentially adjusting your speed and altitude, checking for traffic, and banking less than 30 degrees. You know you're low and slow. Airspeed. Look at the runway for altitude, power, trim, flaps. Back to airspeed. Look for traffic on final. Winds. Turn earlier or later than normal. Bank. Less than 30. Back to airspeed. The important thing about airspeed is to keep it in your scan. So don't get too caught up in exactly when to look at it. Just get in the habit of monitoring it frequently or even calling it out loud. Let's do another iteration, nice and slow. You know you're low and slow. Airspeed. Look at the runway for altitude. Power, trim, flaps. Back to airspeed. Look for traffic on final. Winds. Turn earlier or later than normal. Bank. Less than 30. Back to airspeed. Let's get fluent with this PMF. The object here is to imagine yourself on base and fluently think about going through all of these tasks. At first, it might take a lot of repetitions to get fluent, but if each task makes sense to you, after a while they'll become second nature. Imagine you entering base leg. You know you're low and slow. Airspeed. Runway. Altitude. Power. Trim. Flaps. Airspeed. Traffic on final. Winds to start turn. Bank less than 30. Airspeed. Let's go over it again. Imagine you entering base leg. You know you're low and slow. Airspeed. Runway. Altitude. Power. Trim. Flaps. Airspeed. Traffic on final. Winds to start turn. Bank less than 30. Airspeed. One last time. Imagine you entering base leg. You know you're low and slow. Airspeed. Runway. Altitude. Power. Trim. Flaps. Airspeed. Traffic on final. Winds to start turn. Bank less than 30. Airspeed. Play this video as many times as you need to become fluent. Subscribe and be sure to check back with the channel, as I'll be posting a lot more PMF videos soon.